Oke, topik yang saya dapatkan adalah decent work and economic growth atau pekerjaan layak dan pertumbuhan ekonomi.
Baik, terima kasih. Waktu 2 menit dipersilakan untuk riset ya. Untuk mikir, maksudnya untuk mikir ya. Udah. Ibu Handayani, apakah terdengar suara dari sini?
Terdengar jelas Mbak Nana.
Nggak kedengeran, Bang. Tes ya. Baik, sudah selesai untuk risetnya. Baik, 5 menit waktu untuk speech-nya dipersilakan dari sebentar ya. 5 menit ya, hanya 5 menit saja. Oke, baik. Dimulai dari sekarang, silakan.
Have you ever worked overtime just to impress the company that you work with so that you can get the promotion, so that you can get the contract extension, so that you can get the loyalty recognition from the company that you work with? It's something that always question my mind, that do I have to work overtime, whether it is unpaid overtime or paid overtime, just to get the promotion? That's what we call job insecurity. First of all, overtime means you work more than the times that's being said in the law. So, based on the manpower law, you work 7 hours per day for 6 days in a week. Or you work 8 hours if you work 5 days in a week. And when you work more than that, it is considered as overtime. And you can see more of the rules in manpower law and Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja. And something that we have to know from the survey from JobStreet, it is being said that 60% of young workers, they work overtime but being unpaid. Is it fair? Well, we have to take a look what kind of employee are there, but overtime means the company should compensate the overtime work. And based on the law, you you can work overtime with the consent, and you work 3 hours, and the company can compensate you with 1.5 times of the normal wage, on the normal wage for the first hour of your overtime, or your company compensate 2 times of your normal wage for the next hours of your overtime. And as the generation nowadays, we are looking for a job and desperately take a job, and we don't want to lose our opportunity, so we want to get the recognition from our company, and we work overtime. But you have to know that it's not productive. It will lead you to burnout. It will lead you to the unwell-being. And the company should consider that by giving compensation. And if some employee or certain position, they do overtime, we have to know whether the policy of their position will be compensated by the company or not. For example, the health workers, if they do overtime, they don't get the compensation like 1.5 normal wages for hours they have the overtime. Maybe they have the compensation in other ways. So, overtime is something that we have to stand for our right to be compensated by the companies. And with that survey from JobStreet, the 60% of people who work overtime and being unpaid, it violates the law because the company can get the sanction, whether it's administrative and or the criminal. And with that being said, we come to the solution to protect the employee rights of unpaid overtime. First, the transparency of overtime policy. Second, the management of workload. Just to ensure that the company don't give certain workload to certain people and not discrimination. Third is the human capital management, so we can promote the recognition without being forcing yourself to work overtime. Because at the end of the day, decent work means you work productive. And when the company promotes recognition and rights of the employee will not only work harder by him or herself, but the employee will work even better, and it will result better economic growth. So at the end of the day, overtime is compensated, not unpaid. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation, and silakan Pang Togar, Mr. Togar, for the question.
Yes.
For the SDGs topic, you got the topics regarding decent work and economic growth.
Yes.
And considering what you already explained, you focus on the problem of overtime.
Yes, unpaid overtime.
Unpaid overtime. What comes to your mind? What kind of job, what kind of field of work that ring your bell at the first hand when you decide to explain about the unpaid overtime problems?
All right, thank you so much. So the first thing that comes to my mind when it comes to this motion is the employee who has the contract as the employee that's being regulated with the manpower law, and they should have the right to be compensated with by the companies if they have overtime. But why I cannot say it's for health workers, because health workers, may have longer working hours, so maybe they can have the compensation in other things. So it's something that comes to my mind, especially when I'm in this generation looking for a job and saying, knowing that there's actually a lot of people out there working overtime without being paid, just to have the recognition and just to show our loyalty to the company. Well, actually, it's job insecurity. So I wanna bring this topic so I can and we can get the awareness of that. Thank you so much.
Is it only happening in the field of healthcare in your case, or you also find this kind of problem also in other fields?
All right, thank you. So basically, if you are in certain position in the workplace, for example, like the manager, director, and such, you cannot have the compensation from the overtime because you are I forget the name of it, the mind breaker or something, like you work overtime just because that's your position. So I bring this topic focusing on people who work in the company that has the policy or that has the contract between each parties to work 8 to 7 hours in a day. So I don't bring doctor, I don't bring the managerial position. I focus on maybe like the entry level or certain.
So it can also happen in other work fields. For
Yeah.
example, legal fields. What do you think?
All right, so legal fields, maybe for example, like legal officer in a company, but yeah.
Go on.
Oh yeah, thank you. Legal officers in a company. But talking about the lawyers, maybe it's still on my research whether the lawyers can be compensated as a overtime paid or not, because as a legal officer you are there as an employee, but lawyers can be associate or something. But it's still on my research about that, so I focus this on the legal officer or maybe the marketing people in the company that has the policy or the contract to each parties. Thank you.
Refute myself. What if I say I am an employer, rather than overcompensate you with your overtime working? Try to refute my stance. What if I say to you, rather than overcompensate you or paying you that much to have you always working overtime for my company, for example, or maybe my law firm, if I am a managing partner of a certain law firm, rather than do that, today, most of the jobs can be replaced by automation. Especially, you also agree with me, it can also happen in legal fields. Rather than paying you going home late, yeah, working to draft some contracts, make some legal audits, rather than do that, why don't I just subscribe for advanced artificial intelligence? Not only it can replace you and all of my employees, but also it can avoid me to have employee to work overtime, because something that can be done in 1 hour by a human effort, for example, can be replaced more efficiently, yeah, and of course instantly by just having prompting through artificial intelligence. So at the end, what if I say it's not about protecting the worker only for unpaid overtime, but not paying human workforce anymore and replacing them totally by automation like artificial intelligence. What if I say that your stance in these notions is outdated and quite irrelevant for today's development? Okay, try to refute my stance.
All right, thank you so much for the statement. So first of all, we have to know the perspective of the employers and employee. First of all, I want to disclaimer that decent work doesn't mean only about the amount of economic growth, but also about the sustainability of the employee itself. For example, we leave the work for the AI. Well, actually, the company, which is the employers, will have more profit because they don't have the human resource and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, when we see the economy in the global scale, in the national scale, I'm sorry if I say it in Bahasa Indonesia, but daya beli masyarakat to I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Propensity of the consumption. I'm so sorry. All right. So the daya beli of the masyarakat at the end of the day will also decrease. Meanwhile, the company of you having the AI that's going to replace the human capital will increase. I don't think that's gonna be decent work or decent economy that's going to be related to the SDG commitment. So at the end of the day, it's not only about how one employers perform, but it's about the national global. So we have to see the perspective of daya beli masyarakat. So I don't think if you ask them to leave the company, they will still have the daya beli masyarakat. And other than that, if we want to replace human with AI, because at the end of the day, AI has no heart. So if you or if any employers want to replace human with AI, well, actually it's not suitable for every job because sometimes it needs heart and AI has no emotion. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bang Togar. Please, Bang Hadi, to ask the question.
Okay, thank you very much. Because your presentation is already being, explored by Pak Togar here. Now I'm kind of like, because I just read your paper, right?
Yes.
Regarding the very interesting regarding the protections of migrant workers.
Thank you.
All right. So how do you connect, right, your presentation regarding decent works and economic progress to the migrant worker?
All right. Thank you so much. So talking about migrant workers, we still face challenges and potential exploitation for the migrant workers from East Java. So basically, when we are
Who exploit?
I'm sorry?
Who exploiting the migrant worker?
Okay, for example, like Indonesian worker there, they are being exploited by not having the enough wage, but they are not being treated well by the employers in that country.
Okay, the country of destination, you mean?
Actually, in that paper, I don't bring like specific country, but I only bring the workers specifically from East Java.
All right. So how do you connect this decent work and economic progress with the migrant worker, especially from East Java, or generally from Indonesia?
All right, thank you so much. So when we are talking about decent work or decent economy, we have to know that who's going to build the economy if it's not from human. And we know the fact that migrant workers can contribute well in devisa in Indonesia, which approximately around 250 trillion. As far as I know from the paper, and if we cannot protect the migrant workers, so we're possibly gonna lose that opportunity for the economic growth. So in this SDG, we also have to look for the SDM, or the human capital, or yeah, the workers. So I believe we have to protect the migrant workers from the exploitation by giving my solution there, optimizing the layanan terpadu satu atap there. So
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
But I would like to ask you to look at from the very critical point of view. When you look at that, looking at this migrant worker from the perspective of decent work and economic progress. Okay, that I'm asking you to look at very critical to what happens in East Java or wherever in Indonesia by looking at this migrant worker issues from very critical perspective by looking at decent work and economic progress.
All right, thank you so much. So decent work means a good environment for employee to be productive. And when we're looking for the migrant workers who are being exploited, they are not in a good environment. And based on the human security theory, said that if the environment is not good for the employee, so it means it can threaten the human security. And decent work is also about the human who works there in a decent environment, so that they can give decent work and decent result of the economic growth. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Just saying that before I move on to the other, just saying that is it the problem itself is because of the Indonesian government cannot give any decent work. That's why there are quite a lot of number of migrant workers moving out to different countries, especially our neighboring countries. And then the other issues from the critical point of view, you should look at also, like, isn't it economic progress if you look at migrant worker as a source of income for Indonesian government? Isn't that you should treat them specials rather than just treat them like any other less than people, right? So that kind of thing is also very critical. Just to make statement on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bang Adi. Okay, please, Mbak Anai, to give your question.
Yeah, thank you,
For
Mbak
5
Nana.
minutes,
for
yeah,
the-
5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, 5 minutes only. Sip. Thank you, Mbak Nana, and good evening. Anggraini Indah Alodi, right? So so I just jumped to the questions. You said before in your presentation that there is a sanction of a criminal sanction for the employers if they don't give the amount, the right amount for the overtime workers, right, in the company. So I just want to know that from your view, from your point of view, is it really great to put the criminal sanctions on the labor law field? Because as we know that if the employer wants to demands the overtime's amount to the company, it must have the the official written overtime from the the boss itself from the company. But as we know in this practical time, not every employer has that official written from that. So how do you think in your mind that this criminal sanction could be a very responsive, or let's say just like a very, very effective deterrent in the labor law enforcement itself? Or do you think that this indicate the something like a weakness in our structural regulatory framework that probably it's requires the new legal breakthroughs for the future, I guess. So I just want to know from your point of view and your view about this. Do the criminal sanctions works properly, or probably you think that you need or we need the new legal breakthrough for this situation?
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So first of all, we have to know that mostly the criminal sanction will be imposed as the ultimatum remedium. So we have also the sanction in administrative. So basically, if it's not really the end, or in the end, we can sanction this as the administrative. But if it's repetitive, we can use the ultimatum remedium, which is the criminal code one. And talking about, do I have like innovation or ideas to make a new legal system for this? Well, actually, based on my speech, lately I have my research in job street survey that 60% of young workers, they work overtime and being unpaid. Well, actually, I'm just questioning myself why those 60% of people, they don't tell the government to give the sanction to the company. Well, maybe because there's relasi kuasa, or maybe they're scared of talking to the government. So maybe if there's a way to have whistleblower mechanism for that, well, I support for that. But if there's still no, well, I think that's my idea, to have the whistleblower, so we can reduce the 60% people by having the whistleblower mechanism, so they can talk to the government, so they can give the sanction to the company. But back again to the first question, criminal sanction would be ultimatum remedium. So we will start with the administrative first, in my opinion. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. But so from yourself, you demand to just like give it like a try to the whistleblowers thingy things for the government, just to speak about like this company doesn't pay the overtime workers, and then like class action things just to sue the company itself, or what?
Yeah, I think the enforcement of whistleblower.
All right, I think that's enough for me. Yeah, thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Yes, thank you for the question, Miss Handayani. Okay, udah ya berarti ya? Udah. Okay, thank you for the presentation. Anggi, you can leave the room and saying thank you for the judges.
All right. I just want to say thank you to all the judges who have accompanied me from the first day until now. It's been such a thrill to be one of the people here. So thank you so much, and have a enjoy today. Have a enjoy day today. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Please call your friend, siapa ya, nomor 2? Hafsa, ya. Hafsa, ya. Panggilin Hafsa ya, tolong ya.
Hafsa ngomong apa Hafsa?
Mbak Anai, apakah suaranya
Yes,
terdengar? Ya, mau briefing
terdengar.
sebentar, Mbak.
Oke, Neng.
Tunggu
Muka
ya.
lu, Nay, muka lu. Mana muka lu, Nay? Nggak kedengeran ya?
Ya. Oke, mau briefing sebentar untuk Abang Mbak Dewan Juri Bahasa Inggris, bahwa untuk Bahasa Inggris metodenya nanti finalis akan mengambil undian, di mana di dalam undian ini ada 8 topik SDGs. Jadi finalis akan speech sesuai dengan topik SDGs yang telah dia ambil. Lalu Abang Mbak Juri punya waktu 3-4 menit untuk memberikan questions atau any feedbacks kepada finalisnya. Juga nanti finalisnya punya waktu 5 menit untuk sampaikan speech. Jadi 2 menit berpikir untuk sesuai dengan topik, 5 menit menyampaikan speech, Bapak Ibu Dewan Juri 3-4 menit untuk sampaikan question sama feedback.
Berarti paper mereka ini enggak?
Papernya di dalam ini aja pertimbangan untuk penilaian. Tapi untuk
Hubungin
presentationnya,
aja kalau bisa dihubungin sih kayak gua ke tadi.
oke, ya betul. Kalau bisa dihubungkan, boleh Abang Mbak Dewan Juri
mati dong.
dihubungkan. Baik, Mbak Anai bisa dapat dipahami Mbak sebelumnya?
Bisa, bisa.
Terima
Yakin, Mbak Nay?
kasih.
Kapan lo?
Yakin.
Baik, kita lanjutkan. Sip.
Apa namanya Anggra ini udah
Sustainable cities and communities. Kota dan permukiman berkelanjutan.
bisa nih dibaikin nih. Bisa nih. Sampah sih.
Oke, time's up. Oke,
Ini disimpan berarti.
Oke.
Nggak boleh di ini kan?
ya. Oke, Hafsa, please present your idea for only 5 minutes from now.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom.
Waalaikumsalam.
Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, greetings everyone. Good afternoon everyone, good afternoon judges. Hello, my name is Hafsa Hafizah Rahma, as the finalist of Pemilihan Mahasiswa Berprestasi FHUI Fakultas Hukum Universitas Indonesia 2026-2026. Today, I got a topic about sustainable development cities and communities. Actually, if we're talking about this topic, the main thing that we need to do is to sorting the waste. Why? Because every waste, every type of waste have a difference in waste management. Why? Example, for the unorganic maybe such as plastics, papers, and other things that can be recycled into another thing, maybe that can be something that transaction. That unorganic waste needs to be sorting because that unorganic need to be sent to the bank sampah, especially in UI, they have bank sampah UI. And if we're talking about waste in Fakultas Hukum Universitas Indonesia, through the pedoman, they have a management tools in 2016 that actually categorize every waste. But in practice, they don't really do that. Like there are cases when I talk to the Mas Nur Hadi, the cleaning service, there are cases when the plastic maybe from the canteen is being, sent to TPA Cipayung. TPA Cipayung is a place where the waste being back to the environment through incinerators or through other things. And that leads to issue because the TPA Cipayung for now has for like 25 meters and 25 meters, and because of that problems, it needs to be solved by the government and by the Faculty of Law and the University of Indonesia. For the first step, they need to reduce because the 3R, recycle, reduce, example like plastic, they need to reduce first. After reducing it, maybe through a program like, okay, reducing consumption that needs plastic in canteen, reduce that, and that needs a program through the faculty. After reducing, the waste need to be sorting. If it's unorganic, then it needs to be sent to the bank sampah UI. But if it's organic, it needs to be composed. And if it's residual, it needs to be sent to TPA Cipayung so that it can be processed to incinerators. After the sorting phase, another thing that needs to do is an instrument that will make Faculty of Law implement the program. I have actually in my paper there are a scheme that called ecological fiscal transfer, and that scheme is actually University Indonesia will allocate a fund for the faculty, every faculty, based on their performance of waste management. And for that, it will become incentive for the Faculty of Law to recycle, to reduce, and to sorting waste. Just like what Undang-Undang Pengelolaan Sampah has regulated, so that through two systems, from the the reducing, sorting, and incentive, it will lead to a cycle that can make FHUI, that can make UI, and make Depok and TPA Cipayung not overload of waste that not properly yes, manage. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation. Okay, please, Bang Hadi. Anai. Okay. Miss Handayani.
I have a force major, Abang Mbak, so I think I'm gonna be like a second questions, please.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, what is the topic that you got?
It's a cities and communities.
Again?
Cities and communities.
City.
Cities.
City.
Community. Sustainable. Yes.
Okay. So, based on your presentations, mostly is on about your paper, right? About the waste system.
Yes, right.
All right. So, for city and community sustainable, sustainability of city and communities, right? Sustainability. city and community sustainability. Yeah. All right. Sustainability of city and community. I think that's much better. Sounds. All right. Anyway, so other than waste, what make the city and community to become more sustainable? Other than waste.
If I can give two options. The first option is social. I mean, like if the people have access maybe to education and to other things, it will support the environment. And the two options. The second option is environment. Environment means we need to manage. We need not only waste, but maybe forestry, or maybe climate, or carbon and other things to be properly managed. So in short, there are two. It is the social and the environment.
All right. So what I understand about cities, mostly cities are urban, right?
Yes.
Okay, they cannot sustain by themselves because most of the things that if you live in Depok, for example, it was supported by other place,
Yes.
other villages that supply certain kind of food, and then other places that support for the manufacturing product. So city cannot support by themselves, right? So when you talk about that, first you talk about social, like education, and then what else?
The environment.
Environment. How what do you mean by creating the city and the community that can have sustainability in terms of living?
Actually, what I mean is, when we're talking about maybe cities, the sustainability, it means that we need to see it from helicopter view, as in social. Social not only means education, but it means only maybe in manufacture, or maybe industries, innovation, and all other things.
But usually it's not in the city, right?
Sorry, what?
Usually it's not in the city.
The users.
No. The manufacturers, the plantation, the agriculture, usually not in the cities. They're outside of the city, the outskirts of the cities.
Yes. Yes. So that means we.
Back to my first questions is that how to make cities and community sustainable.
Other than develop on their own, they need to collab to other resident or other place. Why? Because as what Abang said, that maybe the industry is or other factors is not in the, let's say, Depok. So to maintain, to optimize that, need to be collaborated. That's why as Indonesia, the government, especially the executive, need to coordinate all of the all of the place in Indonesia.
All right. So, for example, take Depok as a city, as a urban cities, right? So, how Depok can be sustainable as a living space?
As a living space, back to what I said before, I think that to make Depok sustain, it is first to make the plan. I mean, not only social, like education, but also also like something like tata ruang, and then the environment, for them to make it optimal.
How to make it optimal?
How to make it optimal? It needs to be talked specifically, actually. But if we're talking in a helicopter view to make it optimal, then then all of the, let's say, the factors that make the cities sustain need to be coordinated, need to be organized properly by
How to organize properly? How to coordinate?
first, of course, the planning. The planning, let's say, how to give social assistance, social protection to the to the to the people, and after planning, then socialize the planning. After socialize the planning, then we need to be executing the plan. After execute the plan, then evaluating that plan so that every plan for to make the cities, to make the communities sustain can be implemented. After the executing, then it needs to be evaluated. So if we're talking about how to make a cities sustain, then it needs to organize like this, maybe forestry, industries, everything has different ways to sustain it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Abang.
Thank you, Bang Hadi. Oke, please, Bang Togar.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Hafsa. At the beginning of your presentation, I spot that you raised the problem of waste sorting.
Yes.
I just want to know your stance about this. In many places, I found there are so many trash cans that clustering the waste there into, for example, organic, inorganic, or hazardous waste. Like that. It gives sense to me that actually the citizen is the one that need to be focused on in order to sort the waste. Yeah. But most of the time, I don't care. I don't even know whether my waste is hazardous one, is organic one, inorganic one, I don't care. I just put wherever I want. And this gives me sense as well that this kind of policy is... suara gue gede.
Lu orang Batak ya kan?
Okay, sorry. And this kind of system gives sense to me that it doesn't work optimally because it lead to citizens that voluntarily sorting their waste. Yeah. So what do you think in this kind of situations? Do you believe that we need to have still, in the system of voluntary sorting like this, that citizens need to aware about sorting their type of waste, or actually the one that need to sort the waste 100% is the government in the sense. So what do you think in the sense of sorting? Which one is better in the case of Indonesia, maybe specifically Depok, whether we need to pursue the voluntary sorting that also happen in our faculty, I believe, or we just need to, actually this kind of thing is the responsibility of the government. For example, in Depok, then it becomes the responsibility of the municipality of Depok or Pemkot Depok. What do you think about this?
For the better sustainable, I think it is better if the people actually knows what and how to sort waste. But it is hard to achieve that. So what I can give is there is an instrument that called economy instrument, incentive and disincentive instruments, and before that, actually, if we're talking about waste, there are two types of waste. There are types of waste that can be recognized, like, oh, it's from industry, and there are waste that came from maybe lecturers or maybe me and other people that cannot be recognized easily. And because of that, for management of the people, it needs to be it will take time, so it needs an economic instrument that called incentive. And how to implement that? Of course, we need to the RT or maybe the little RW level of RT RW to maintain the waste management. Like actually, Depok has incentive scheme. So if Depok implement that properly and can coordinate even the level RW and RT, so that can if the people actually sorting the waste properly, it can the government can give incentive, and step by step it will make the people change over time. So a voluntary instrument is a solution for now, because for the waste from us, it cannot be recognized easily. But if it's from the industry, then it needs to be command and control.
Can you explain a little bit about the incentive?
So in Perda Depok, there are incentive and disincentive. Incentive is if a community can develop waste management more than the standard that the government has put, then the government will give incentive. But actually, in practice, it is also a problem in practice. I have not heard that the government has give the incentive to the community. But I have a example, the community in Banyumas. Banyumas has their own TPST. TPST is a place where we recycle, where we reduce, where we reuse waste. But it is not coordinated by the government. It is coordinated by the people. So because of the incentive that they earn, they then can manage the waste, even can gain like a lot of money from that reduce and recycle. But if we're talking in Depok, it has not been implemented.
Okay, thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mbak Handayani, please.
Thank you, Mbak Nana. I believe in this term, everything can start from a small circle. So let's talk about the starting from FHUI, right? Because we know as well that the sustainable cities, it also depends on environmental sustainability and also the social equity and also the good governance, which is the kind of like the most important part of this. So I just want to know and ask, if someday you were given the opportunity to serve as the Dean of the Faculty of Law, Universitas Indonesia, of course, I want to know about how would you translate these principles into the concrete programs of a Dean of the Faculty of Law of the Universities of Indonesia within the university environment, like considering at the chains can back as well could be starts from the small circle, right? And as we know, in Faculty of Law itself, from the FHUI, the students, also the people around the FHUI, could access and have the access to the public water dispenser, as we can see on the gedung belakang FHUI itself, and then probably around the decanate rooms. We also have the public water dispensers, and as well, so we see many students of the FHUI students already bring their own tumbler, right? But however, as also we can see on our trash bin around the campus, around the faculty itself, it still widely has the amount of plastic waste, right? So yeah, back to my first questions is itself. If you were given the opportunity as the dean of Faculty of Law, what kind of policies or regulations would you introduce to significantly reduce the plastic use while ensuring that the compliments from the academic community itself must be regained, and also like they want to do that by their own free will, like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. If the scenario is like that, then the first thing I would do is to make a program from for the Civitas academic to know how to sorting waste, how to manage waste, and that needs to be implemented in actually one of them is PMB FHUI. Why? Because from my experience, I see that let's say about sexual harassment, it is there are materials in PMB FHUI that make the new students learn about what is consent, what is social harassment and other things, and that about waste management that can be implemented, like so that the new student can know, oh, this is unorganic waste, so that needs to be put in this trash can, and this is residual, this is organic. So the students can at least know and can make a little step to sorting the waste. After that, after the socialize, then I will make a program. Actually, this is inspired by FTUGM. FTUGM has a policy in their faculty to reduce plastic use consumption in canteen, like spoon and other things. And as I interview the cleaning service in FHUI, there are a lot of plastic waste that came from canteen. So from that information, then one thing that can be reduced, one of the things that can be reduced is that the plastic use, let's say like spoon and other things in canteen. And if there are customers that want to buy takeaway, then they need to have their own spoon, have their own things, so that they don't use the plastic materials anymore. That's the first thing. And another thing, I really want to make the sorting first. The sorting waste needs to be supported by the trash can. As I look around FHUI, there are only one point that has 3 trash can that organic, unorganic, and paper. And that is in C building outside of this SNT room. So for that, to support the program, the socialized program and the reducing program, then the next step is to give the students, to give the Civitas academic facility to sorting waste. If I have paper, then I have to put this in trash bin paper and other things. After that, then I need to organize the cleaning service. Why? Because yes, students can implement sorting, but I still need the cleaning service to make it more perfect, so that they will sorting waste. Not like now. Today, FHUI cleaning service said that they usually the plastic waste usually not recycled enough, so they send it to TPA Cipayung, and because of that, I think that needs to be upgrade, that if it's plastic that can be reusable, it needs to send to Bank Sampah UI. So another thing is that the program for the cleaning service needs to be upgraded too. After that, then in other words, for waste management, it needs to be two-stream waste system. ex ante and then ex post, the reducing and then the management when sorting and then using incinerators and other things. So because of that idea, then FHUI can manage to make waste management optimal. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So the program must be included to the great facilities, right? Like expand the facilities from your POV, right? Okay, so I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Handayani. Please, Dimas, for your question.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I just may want to ask about your opinion. So it's been a while since we have seen disaster in our biggest landfill, Indonesia, in Bantar Gebang. Maybe what we can look at the disaster in Bantar Gebang, it's not about how we collect waste itself, but how our government have been managed our waste itself. Maybe I want to ask about your opinion. Is there any kind of waste management that can be used to provide the society and also the cities sustainability, and maybe does we have to optimize the cultural or educational approachment so that we could have achieved the better ways to manage our waste itself? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dimas. So actually, there is an idea that I have been proposed that as I will evaluate from TPST Banyumas. TPST Banyumas is a community that makes the village, makes their place organized by themselves. Why? Because the government give them incentive to do that. And it needs to be done in other place. Why? Because we cannot just put and send the waste to TPA Bantar Gebang also because they have they are limited. So we cannot put all of them to that place that is the government organized. So what I'm trying to say is that the implementation of incentive and disincentive need to be implemented. Why? Because if it's implemented, then the TPST Banyumas can also be everyone can copy their ideas. First, if they copy their ideas, then they will manage waste, and the Bantar Gebang will reducing other things. They will have their own money because they they recycle their own waste. So I think the better idea to do that is to first, of course, yes, education is important, but if it stops in education, that it will not be implemented properly. After education, then it needs to be socialized to the smaller circles like RT RW, and with the incentive, the RT RW, of course they need money. So with the waste management, they have waste. They don't need to buy waste. They can recycle it, and they can gain money, and they get incentive, and the government can gain performance. I mean, like the waste will be reducing, and then the cost is not wide. It's not big because they do on their own.
Okay, thank you, Dimas, for your question, and thank you for Hasfa, ya?
Hafsa.
Hafsa, for your presentation. You can leave the room, but stand by until the announcement, ya. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, judges.
Ini kenapa bisa nyala kalau mati ya?
Quality education, pendidikan berkualitas.
Okay, time's up. Now you have only 5 minutes for present your idea regarding the quality education, ya?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Time only 5 minutes. Start from now.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan untuk kita semua. My name is Atyana Kamila Shahindra, and today I will present my opinion about quality education in Indonesia, which is a sustainable development goal number 4. Quality education in Indonesia refers to the quality of how good and how bad an education system is in the country. Doesn't necessarily mean that every person in this country obtain an education, but it means that every person in the country obtain good quality education. It doesn't mean that the main point is that every person in the country needs to have the opportunity, the access for an education that is beneficial for the country, that is high in quality. And I personally think that it is a very significant goal that we have to uphold in the country itself. According to Badan Pusat Statistik, 75% of people in Indonesia don't really have the quality, don't really have enough quality in education compared to other countries in the world. And I think that this data illustrates that we have to do something as a nation to increase our quality in education. For example, we can strengthen our teachers' qualities, for example, doing teacher training and also having a program for them to to be part in and to learn more, because if the teachers are good in quality, then the students itself will be also good in quality. And not only that, I also believe that quality of good education quality is also a fundamental right for every single person in the country, because it is also written in the Constitutional of Indonesia. If I am not mistaken, it is in Article 34. And therefore, as it is our obligation as a country to provide our people with the best education quality in order to increase our manpowers, our manpowers, our manpower's quality itself. Because if we see other countries in the world, we can see that other countries already have a good education system, which they also provide free tuition for the students that doesn't have the adequate economic situation. And I personally believe that we as a nation need to adopt that also in Indonesia, for example with LPDP. And I really think that that is a really good program, and we need to evolve that program and increase the LPDP's participants, because it can bring many benefits to the countries. Because by having good quality of education, then the students will develop the country into the right direction, which will be very beneficial for the country and will help Indonesia as a nation itself.
Okay.
Oh, belum.
Please, Bang Hadi, for ask the question.
Okay. This is very interesting issues that I have very great deal of interest in this matter. So when you're talking about good education, you compare with the other countries, to have better education and so on and so forth. But I don't see that you give any definitions, or at least describe what is quality education. So now I ask you, what do you mean by quality education? What kind of educations that consider to be a quality education? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, for the question. I personally believe that a good education is
Not only good, quality
quality education. Yes, it's about where students and everyone in the country have the same access and have the same quality and have the same standards across the nation for the education itself. So it involves the teachers, the infrastructures, the teaching materials. It involves all of that. And having quality education, it means that every single person in Indonesia have the access to the same standardized education system.
Okay. You mean standardized education. I think in Indonesia we have standardized educations, but the problem with the standardized education is that the challenges, the threat that everyone in Indonesia have different threats, I mean, what become challenges and threat in Papua is not the very similar what happens in Jakarta. So by having like standardized education, do you think it's a quality education? Or what is the objective of education itself? So I will ask you, and maybe you can elaborate more about what is the objective of education. Is it to make people happy? Is it to make economic progress? Is it to make people progress? Or to make the science progress? Or none above? So if you can choose for all those things, and then you can elaborate, and then you can give me what is the objective of education. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak. For the first question, Pak, I think that Indonesia has already obtained a standardized education, which
I was asking is what is the objective of education?
the objective of education, I personally believe that it has many objectives, Pak, and one of them being to increase the quality of a person itself,
For what?
to become a better person and to become a good asset for the nation, so that
So become like as a tool for capitalism, you mean?
not like that, Pak.
Oh, okay. And what then?
But an asset in terms of that person can bring contributions, good contributions to the country, to make the country a better country in general, for example.
Okay. What do you mean by better countries? I mean, if you give some kind of concept, you need to determine what is the concept itself, or what is the definitions of that concept.
Okay.
I mean, like better. I mean, I would be better from Pak Togar here. Okay, maybe in terms of like I'm a little bit older than him, little bit, right? That's mean so I'm better than him in terms of the age, right? But for the economy, maybe Pak Togar. So when you said better, I mean you need to elaborate what is the benchmark, what is the standard for, I mean, better, right?
Okay, Pak. Thank you, Pak. Maybe I can provide an example. For example, Indonesia has a lot of potential for renewable energy, Pak, and by obtaining quality education, a person can become and can have knowledge that others who don't have quality education don't have that knowledge, and that person can bring advantages to the country because he or she can develops the renewable energy in Indonesia and make Indonesia a better country in terms of having a more advanced technology to make it real for the renewable energy to become more popular in Indonesia itself, Pak.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bang Hadi. For the next, Bang Togar, please ask your question or feedbacks.
Okay, Atyana, yeah.
Yes, Pak.
So listening to your presentation, explanation before, I conclude that you raised two focuses in order to enhance the quality of education. First, you mentioned the capacity building of teachers, right? And the next one, you also mentioned the scholarship, especially also you mentioned LPDP. My first question, I have two questions regarding two of your focuses. First, regarding the teacher. Before we talk about enhancing the capacity of teacher, what if I say the first thing to do is to make sure that the young graduates from Indonesia wants to become a teacher, because I believe most of capable graduates from Indonesia do not want to become a teacher, because becoming a teacher means you will have pay grade below other professions. Yeah, how do you convince them? Below minimum wage. How do you convince them in that sense? That's my first question. And the second one regarding the scholarship, how do you ensure scholarship like LBDP can find the most suitable receivers of the scholarships, rather than giving that for people that actually not so suitable enough for that? Yeah, that's my two questions. It's up to you whether you want to answer the second one or the first one first. Okay, time's yours.
Thank you, Pa. For the first question, I believe that as a nation, we have to educate the younger generation from early age, Pa, and we have to internalize norms, and we have to tell them what is good and what is bad, and by stressing that being a teacher is very has very good intention, Pa, because it can help other people being a better person in terms of knowledge, in terms of characters, and I think by internalizing that thought to the younger generation, it will help them build a more open mind towards the profession of a teacher, and I also agree with your opinion, Pa, that maybe these generations need more thought and need to be told more about the teacher profession, and how it is the main reason that people who have it is the main reason for people's success, Pa. And I think by telling them that thought and by internalizing that at an early age, I think that will increase the younger generation's interest to become a teacher, Pa. And for the second question, I believe that the LPDP right now currently has already adopted a very standardized and very standardized recruitment process, and I think what needs to be improved is regarding whether that person who obtains the LPDP comes back to Indonesia or not, Pa. And I think that can be done by conducting regular reports, Pa, which I have heard from a very close friend of mine that the system is already created, but not implemented as good as the plan, Pa. Thank you, Pa.
Okay, thank you, Bang Togar. And please, Mbak Handayani, for giving your question or feedback for 4 minutes, yeah. Thank you.
4 minutes only. Thank you, Mbak Nana. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. I think I just wants to asking you about. I'll probably start with you mentioned before about the article on the Undang-Undang Dasar 1945 on our constitution, right? It's written on Article 31. Yeah, and yeah, as we know, even though that the system itself for our educational straighten day by days, but yet we also know that the learning outcomes in Indonesia remain weak, relatively low, yeah, according to the sources BPS and etc. And also not to mention to comparing to the international assessment, right? So just a little questions. Do you think that this problem it's more like on our policy design or our policy implementation itself, or probably our government of the education system itself? And if you named one from this roots problem, what do you think you're gonna give to at least not to achieve the international standard itself, because as we know we much different to other countries on the population and also on the citizens itself, to how we react, how we receive the education itself. But if you name one from that roots problem, what do you think could do best to resolve that problem? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, but I think the root problem is on the implementation of the regulation and I think the Indonesia, which is an archipelagic state, also plays an important cause for the implementation, for the threat of the implementation of the regulation. Because I think that Indonesia now has already obtained a standardized education, but not to all of the regions of the country. And I think that is the main problem in terms of this SDG. And I think what can be done about this is building infrastructure in regions that are not and that are less accessible. And why is that? Because with infrastructure, then there will be facilities for the younger generation in that region to obtain quality education.
So the bottleneck itself, it's on the policy implementations, in your opinion?
Yes, and the situation of the country also plays an important role on making that hard to be implemented.
Like what the situation of the country in your mind?
Archipelagic state, and
so
yes.
the negara kepulauan, it's one of the
Yes,
cause, or the policy implementation cannot be done as how it has to be done, right?
Yes, because it is harder to access some regions than others.
Okay. Well, thank you for the answer.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Mbak.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Handayani. Okay, next, Dimas, please give your question.
Okay, thank you for Manana. Okay, maybe as we know, because for quality education, our nation biggest program for education, like we know, was Telefare of Wajib Belajar. Maybe I just want to ask about your opinion. What do you think about this program, and does this program has been sufficient to support our quality of education, or maybe this program were designed to achieve the quantity of education only, or you can give some opinions or critics regarding to the Telefare of Wajib Belajar itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimas, for the question. I personally strongly agree with the wajib belajar policy, and that is because I think that it has helped many younger generation to obtain education at an early age, which I think is it's very significant and is very important for the development of the younger generation, because the younger generation will be the next leaders of the country, and with the wajib belajar policy, I believe that they have better access to education at an early age.
Okay, I think that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oke, thank you, Bang Togar. Atau mau langsung di stopin aja, masih ada. Udah cukup ya. Oke, enough. Thank you for your presentation, Camilla. You can leave the room and wait until the announcement this evening ya. Oke, thank you. Bang Togar ini kan sambil berjalan sholat, gak apa ya Bang? Oh, online. Ini. Oke. Oke, hello Hafifa ya sekarang ya? Selin belum ada.
Sekarang Selin
Selin
ya?
kan bukannya online juga ya? Harusnya Selin. Ada di waiting room nggak? Nggak ada ya? Afifa, are you here?
Ya Mbak.
Okay, you can listen our voice ya.
Mbak, sorry, apakah ini Selin dulu atau langsung ke saya saja?
Afifa aja, karena Selinnya belum ada di tempat berdasarkan arahan Ketua Dewan Juri untuk Afifa dulu saja.
Baik.
Kenapa? Oh, udah muncul. Afifa dulu aja ya, tetap ya. Baik, Afifa mendapatkan topik tentang.
So for your presentation, Afifa, you have to present about sustainable cities and communities. Okay, got it? Okay.
Okay, you have 2 minutes for your preparation the topic or your opinion about apa tadi? Sustainable city and communities. Okay, 2 minutes from now. Berarti namanya jangan sampai salah ya. One minute left. 10 seconds. Okay, please present your idea or opinion about it for 5 minutes from now. Okay, time is yours.
Thank you so much, judges, for this opportunity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, dan salam kebajikan bagi kita semua. Let me introduce myself. My name is Afifah Khalila, one of the finalists mahasiswa berprestasi 2026. Judges, in this opportunity, I will talk about the sustainable cities and communities, and I will connected to my gagasan kreatif earlier. Sustainable cities and communities is one of the Sustainable Development Goals atau SDGs that is focused making cities and communities to safe, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable itself. And one important target in these sustainable cities and communities is aim to reduce impact disaster and protect people who are most vulnerable atau kelompok rentan. In Indonesia itself, this goal is very relevant because the country frequently experience natural disaster such as tsunami, earthquake, flood, landslide. If we know the Aceh itself has occurred landslide in November earlier. When disaster happened, many communities lost home, school, and other important facilities in their cities. However, the situation, disaster recovery, often focus mainly in rebuilding physical infrastructure, such as house, roads, and schools. While the effort is important, there is another aspect that I supposedly agree that is something issues we have discussed, that is psychological well-being of the children after disaster itself, because many disaster affect these children might experience fear, stress, trauma after losing their home and end up in difficult situation. Without the proper psychological support, this experience can affect their mental health, learning ability, and long-term development itself. Because of this, I think building a sustainable and resilient community should not only focus on physical recovery, but also supporting their mental and emotional recovery of these children. Because providing safe place, counseling service, and psychological support program can help these children, anak-anak korban bencana, recover and feel safe again in their communities. In conclusion, sustainable cities and communities are not only about strong building and infrastructure, but also protecting people, especially in this issues. I choose to protecting anak-anak korban bencana as a kelompok rentan, to ensure their access to psychological support after the disaster itself, and this is an important step to build our communities that are truly resilient and sustainable.
Finish? Are you done to present
Yeah.
your opinion or idea? Yeah, okay. We please our judges, maybe Bang Togar.
Okay, Miss Afifa. So, to cover SDGs point that you got, you also focus on your paper, yeah. That in order to enhance the sustainability of cities, especially communities, yeah, you focus on how do we solve the problems of victims disaster, especially children.
Yeah.
The interesting part, yeah, the most interesting part in your paper is you focus on yeah, social or soft infrastructure, yeah, to build psychological support and emergency school, yeah, in temporary tents. As we know, every point in SDGs means the means that every point needs to pursue its own sustainability. But in your paper, you also come up with the idea of emergency school built on temporary tents, which is also temporary, right? So my question is, how can your proposed program can create lasting mental health support for those children that impacted by the disaster if the schools, the emergency schools that you are proposing actually will be taken down soon because it's only temporary. Yeah. My second question after that, you also compare your idea with success story in Chile. Yeah. But you also wrote in your paper in Chile, they have huge government support and funding. Compare with Aceh, compare with Aceh situations that you make an example. Is it comparable, or that in the sense that Aceh relies mostly on temporary volunteers, yeah, like emergency school and psychological support that you also wrote down in your paper. So how relevant your idea to support the sustainable mental health of the victim disasters, but you also acknowledge that your proposed idea or program is actually temporary, not long lasting. How do you bridge those gaps? Okay, time's yours.
Thank you so much, Bang Togar, for that question. I think for that concern, even though the emergency school, sekolah darurat, will eventually withdrawn, this program, I think this program is still relevant for the children itself. The sustainable is a focus that in the children, untuk anak-anak korban bencana itself, because the temporary support can help children recover emotional uh, and continue their learning during the critical post disaster itself. While the school is while the school is not permanent, but the skill, the coping mechanism, the mental health in anak-anak korban bencana will can have a lasting impact on their development. I think the sustainable is more on that and not the sekolah sekolah darurat itself. And this show that even short-term intervention still can contribute to building more resilience and sustainable communities because they're focused on well-being and most vulnerable of anak-anak itself. I think the sustainable, in conclusion, the sustainable that I mean in my gagasan kreatif that focus to anak-anak, not the sekolah darurat that will drawn in the temporary gap.
Okay, thank you, Bang Togar. We please Bang Hadi to ask question or Mbak Anai. Okay, Mbak Anai first. You have 4 minutes, Mbak Anai. We please you to ask question, please.
Thank you, Miss Dania, and also thank you for the paparan, ya, Afifa. So I have two questions. Probably the one is regarding the rights-based perspective. I just wants to know from your POV, actually. So everything in this SDGs 11s that is actually promoted the inclusive and resilience communities, and also the um, particularly for the vulnerable groups affected by the national disaster, as for the examples as you also mentioned in your papers. As we know, like the examples that you also give us in your paper, comparing the Aceh and also the one that happened in Chile. I think it's important to also know from the rights-based perspective that how do you think, and do you think that the governments should recognize that the psychological recovery as a fundamental component of a disaster response policy, right? If you say so, then I would like to know from you what kind of the legal institutional framework that will be or that would be necessary to ensure that this is important, but it is not overlooked, like so we can still make sure that this go like in two ways, for the psychologic reasons and also for the infrastructure itself, because how can we do have a good psychologic after all this trauma if we're surrounded by like the disaster aftermath, right? And my second questions is, let's say we do looking forward for the future, how can how can our policymaker actually design the disasters preparedness for, and also the recovery program or probably the recovery system that could integrate the mental health support from the very beginning, not just the like a secondary response, but it's also being our first response and first support from the very beginning to the mental health itself. That's the two questions for me. I think it's your time to answer, Afifa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Anai, for that question. For the first question, the legal instrument that mengamanahkan is mandated by Indonesia law itself, both in Undang-Undang Perlindungan Anak and Disaster Management, Undang-Undang Kebencanaan, require that the government itself to provide the protection and assistance to vulnerable groups, that issues that kelompok rentan in that into undang-undang, including the children itself in emergency situation. This means the state has a legal responsibility to ensure that children that affected by disaster can receive psychological support in that paper writing in PFA, psychological first aid. And in conclusion, I think the nation in our state itself is has mandated by Indonesian law in Undang-Undang Perlindungan Anak and Undang-Undang Kebencanaan. For the first question.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go jump into that just a little bit. So it is mandated by the regulation itself, such like Undang-Undang Bencana Alam and also the Perlindungan Anak itself. But do you think that it's in reality it is 100% working like the mandate from the regulation itself?
Okay. Okay, for that question, what in the reality in Indonesia itself? Okay, I think in Indonesia itself, this mandate in still ineffective, still ineffective. For example, in Aceh itself, that I write in my gagasan kreatif, proof that proof that the PFA still not given, still not given, in anak-anak kelompok rentan. And this situation illustrate that these issues is still our problem, and these issues are relevant to solve in to solve in yeah, to solve.
And for the second questions?
I think for the second question, what the first thing that can government give to children affected by disaster is by given a psychological first aid. That psychological first aid is a intervention psychologist that give to children that affected in disaster, which mean relawan or lembaga swadaya masyarakat can give the social intervention by PFA to anak-anak, to the children affected by disaster.
Okay, but I think there's a mislead just a little bit, because what I'm asking is about, do we have or do you think our governments should do you think that the governments itself should be designed the disaster preparation and recovery system that integrate as a first response, yeah, not like a secondary response, just like that. But I think the times is up. Thank you for the answers. Thank you, Miss Danira.
Okay, thank you, Miss Anai, for the question and the feedback. We please Dimas to ask question or any feedback to Afifa.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I may want to ask, do you think mental health situation could be the permanent answer for the sustainable cities and communities itself? Okay, sorry, could you hear me?
Sedikit terputus-putus.
Okay.
Okay. You can repeat the question.
Okay. Do you think, despite the disaster itself,
Tes.
okay, so despite the disaster itself, do you think mental health situation was so prominent to be the part of sustainable cities and communities?
Thank you, Dimas, for that question. I think uh, this uh, this is relevant to SDGs 11, sustainable cities and communities, even when we focus on the mental health, because the SDGs 11 emphasize that safe, resilience, and inclusive communities. And I think the well-being itself, well-being from the mental health of the communities is the part of resilience itself, and addressing mental health, and for that context in gagasan kreatif, I connected by disaster to connected this SDGs itu.
Okay. For my next question, so do you think mental health condition was so prominent that it should be granted by our nation as a part of our social welfare itself?
Hmm, I think it's really important to recognize mental health from our societies as a um, yeah, it's a really important to recognize mental health from the societies as a part of resilience itself.
Okay. I think that is for me.
Thank you, Dimas, and thank you, Afifa. We please Mr. Hadi to ask question.
Okay, thank you. Um, I just want to follow up what has been asked by uh, Mbak Handayani regarding whether or not Indonesia should have this program intact. I mean, not because of the situations that happens, like for example, like flood, earthquake, fire, or any other things, but more or less like preparedness. More on proactive program that help many people to mana orangnya hilang.
It's missing.
All right. Solo sustain kali yang namanya koneksinya itu. Kalau di kita kan enggak. Apanya? World class university. Hah? World class university. Ada itu.
Slogan.
Sorry, judges.
Okay.
Apakah suara saya terdengar? Mohon maaf sekali tadi
Yeah.
seperti
Okay. So what did you heard before? So before I kind of like being disconnected.
that I hear before Indonesia is that is that the question about the mitigation itself?
All right. Okay. So whether or not Indonesia should have this preparedness program ready at any time, right? Because we know that we are in the very what is it positions, the geographically we are in the positions of many disaster might happens in our territory, in our countries. So do you think in term of, because I want you to connect this with community sustainability. Okay, my question is that whether the responsibility of preparedness as a program, intact program, not program because of something bad happens, but intact program should be the responsibility of the community itself or responsibility of the government of Republic of Indonesia. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, judges, for that question. For the first question, if are the important Indonesia to have a mitigation system? Yes, I think this is a very important thing that Indonesia, because we know that Indonesia by geographically vulnerable to disaster, including, which I said before, earthquake, tsunamis, flood, and volcanic eruption, and etc. Because the high risk itself is very essential to include the mitigation that sustain to uh, to our community. I think it's really important to integrate disaster mitigation in our country itself, judges. Second, uh, are the community have a kewajiban to mitigate, and for my perspective, the community has also important responsibilities in disaster mitigation. I think the communities is play key roles in this situation, because what? Because the community know the local environment and risk the best before the government itself. Second, because the communities play key roles too in help and help ensure a continuity of support even the after government program and emergency schools are withdrawn. I think with the actively participation in the community, we will create safer and more resilience, and this is a really relevant to SDGs 11, sustainable cities and communities, judges.
Okay, thank you, Afifa. That is the last question and feedback for your opinion of your speech today. Please wait until the announcement tonight. Maybe you want to say thank you to our judges, please. You are still mute. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, judges, for your for these opportunities. I learned a lot from these opportunities. Thank you so much for all the judges. That.
Okay, thank you, Afifa. You can leave the Zoom. Thank you. So next,
Thank you, Manania.
our finalist is Celine Diamona. You can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, Celine, because you attend by online, our judges will pick the topics for you. Please, Bang Togar.
So for the most outstanding student candidates named Celine Diamora, you'll get the SDGs topic of no poverty. No poverty. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Celine, you have 2 minutes to think about your speech. Start now. Under 1 minute. Ten seconds. Okay, Celine, you have 5 minutes to speech. Okay, if you hear any rings, it means the times is up and the times is yours. Please.
Before that, am I audible? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. One, two. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a very amazing opportunity for me. I really appreciate this. So I will be talking about poverty. Have you ever had that one kid in your class, that the one that sat quietly at the back, uniforms all worn out, that and never really spoke unless getting called by the teacher? And one day, the teacher usually said that if you keep not paying attention to the class, you will end up being an unsuccessful poor person. Or if they're trying to be more polite about it, they usually just say, or you will end up being a janitor, being a driver, being a nanny, as if those noble jobs are not the backbone of Indonesia, of our society. Maybe back then you didn't really think about it, but what if that child was already fighting in a battle that you couldn't really see? Because for some kids, going home doesn't look like warm foods on the table welcoming you. from your way to from the school. Sometimes going home means sharp loans waiting in front of your houses because your parents cannot pay them back. We were taught that poverty looks like failure, but we were never taught what poverty actually feels like. It can feel like choosing meals to skip. It can feel like being rather to go to sleep because you simply cannot afford dinner. It feels like getting sick and hoping it goes away on its own because you cannot pay for the medical bill, or you simply cannot afford to go to the hospital. It feels like working hard every single day and still not having enough. So, let me say this clearly: poverty is not a lack of effort, it is a lack of access of opportunity. And if that's true, then poverty is not something that we should explain. It is something that we must already end at this point. Not reduce, not manage, not study, but end. But how can we actually do that? One, we need to acknowledge first that no one should have to fight just to survive. The first step to ending poverty is ensuring that no one lives without basic needs. Because when your entire life is about survival, you don't have the chance to dream, let alone succeed. There are people who work every single day and yet they still need to worry about what food to eat this tonight and how can they exactly feed their children tomorrow. Not because they're lazy, but because survival at this point is very expensive and the systems are already unequal. So I believe if we want to end poverty, we must start it by acknowledging it, remove the stigma. Two, hard work must actually mean something. Poverty cannot end if effort does not lead to an actual visible progress. Telling people to work harder means nothing if the system keeps them in the same place, stagnant place. Many people wake up early, they cramp themselves at the Manggarai station just to commute to their workplace, do everything right in the end of the day, and they still remain poor because wages are too low, opportunities are too limited, and the system was never built for them to move up. And three, the last one, I strongly believe that no child should inherit poverty. Poverty must stop with this generation. And it sounds utopic, right? It sounds just like an imaginary statement. But no child chooses where they are born or how they were born in which family. Yet that choice shapes their entire life, their entire future. Children born into poverty are more likely to stay in poverty, not because they lack potential, but because they lack opportunity. And this is the truth that we don't like to face. Poverty still exists, not because we don't know how to fix it, but I believe it's because we subconsciously we we have to learn with it. We walk past it, we study it, we talk about it, we normalize it. So when you see that child in the back of the classroom with all those worn out uniform, I think that the question is not why are those people poor, but instead why do we still allow that kid to suffer? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Celine, for your speech. And for the first judges, we please Miss Anai to ask question or any feedbacks for Celine. The time is yours.
Thank you so much, Celine, for the presentations, like for delivering your. I think it's a that there is a. I want to quote something that the poverty is not come because like there is like of the competence, but like the opportunity itself. So I just have and wants to questioning about these things like. I agree that some at some point the civil socialization is itself believe or often perceive that the poverty is a result of the personal value or a lack of success, right? But that, as you mentioned before, that we should understand that the poverty it should be understood as a lack of opportunity. If we accept that this perspective, I want to know that how should the governments and institution, our institution, especially in Indonesia, somehow have the idea to redesign their policies to remove the stigma, as you said before, the poverty itself is also the stigma. How do the government and the institutions redesign their policies to remove the stigma surrounding the poverty itself, so that we can ensure that the social mobility is truly possible and guarantee to every children, because we can understand and also we can believe that every child has the equal opportunities to develop their potential, and that's the first. And the others is how can we shift from that charity based typical things, approaches to our structural solutions, that we really need to genuinely break the cycle of this poverty. I think if you get that, Celine, please answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mbak Anai, for the very unique question. I think that when we are talking about poverty, I would like to separate this into two main roles, the government and the society itself. I believe when we are approaching this kind of social issue, we I think it's best to set the issue or the problem about stigma to the people. But I believe that if we want the people to stop having these stigmas, to stop labeling these people that they're incompetent or something else, it must come from the government first. The government, as it is stated in the Constitution, it has the obligation to provide access to the people, whether it's about education, proper living wages, jobs, etc. If the government properly uses their capability to actually provide access to all Indonesians, for example, equally, I believe that the stigma itself will eventually reduce bit by bit from the people. We need to assess first what actually is the root cause of the stigma itself. The stigma comes from, for example, oh, you're not from Jakarta. You're not from Jakarta. You don't really pay attention to class. That's why you're poor, for example. That's the kind of stigma that is extremely dangerous. And I believe that the role of institution and also the role of government, it plays a key role here, but it's not about the stigma. It's about the system. The government needs to build the system first, ensuring the rights are actually provided to those people, and then the people will follow. So if we talk about what actual concrete ideas or things that the government can do about the stigma, the best they can do is rather that except for besides from actually providing those rights, is just raising awareness. That's the only thing. If the government does its jobs, then I believe that the people will also um, do their jobs to not label or make those stigmas anymore, and it will eventually be gone. I hope that answers. Thank you so much, Mbak Anai.
All right, thank you so much, Celine. Thank you so much, Miss Dania.
Okay, thank you so much, Mbak Anai. We please Bang
Terima
Togar
kasih.
for our next judges.
Okay, Miss Celine. Listening to your presentations, I think in order to tackle poverty problems, you want to focus more on basic needs. Yeah, you mentioned basic needs before. And I also imply that by reading your paper. Yeah, your paper focus on healthcare funding, right? Yeah. I want to highlight one of your creative idea regarding how do we find our healthcare system. In your paper, you mentioned that you want to put a tax on e-wallet transaction over 500,000 rupiah. Well, most of the time, people that have this kind of transactions is middle class. Yeah, like me, like Pak Hadi, like most people in this room, even also you. The thing is, becoming middle class, it's not an easy position. It's very difficult to have social mobility, means it's very difficult to get rich, means having significant assets whatsoever, but we are always on the brink of becoming poor. Yeah, right, Pak Hadi?
Yes.
That's the virtue of being middle class in Indonesia. And by your proposal, you want also to tax this kind of group of society. Yeah. So what do you think? Doesn't taxing everyday digital payments will hurt the middle class in Indonesia, which at the end will go against your idea of tackling the poverty problem to create affordable healthcare for everyone? What do you think about this, Miss Celine? Time's yours.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. That's a really good point. And I do agree with you that taxes or levies, they're always a very sensitive topic. It needs to be very carefully crafted. Like when you make policies about it, it needs to be very careful. You need to pay attention to more than several factors. It needs to be very careful to assess which kind of which people are actually going to be affected by this. But in my paper, in my creative idea, the concept of solidarity levy is where people, they are getting taxed a very, very small amount when they are when in their everyday transaction. But in this very small amount, when it is accumulated by millions of people in Indonesia, the amount that the government will gather, it will create an enormous impact. I am a strong believer that taxes taxes are not the ones that make people mad. It is the fact that those large amount of taxes, they don't come with large amount of benefits. That's what makes people mad, right? That's what is very sensitive to the public. Why are we paying this type of tax, but we're not getting anything? We don't really see any impact in our everyday life. But the concept is different in this levy that I am proposing in my paper or my creative idea. This concept of solidarity levy, when it is going to be implemented and it is going to be one of the sources for the endowment fund, which it will fund the JKN program held by the Ministry of Finance, if it is regulated properly, if it is invested properly, those very small amounts, like for example, even if it is a middle class person, a middle class worker, they're going to get taxed 500 rupiah or gopek every 500k rupiah that they're going to transfer to someone else, for example. Those those 500 rupiah, the impact, it will not only be impacted to you, but only to other people. So I believe that if I am, I'm also a middle class, but if I'm going to get taxed 500 rupiah or gope or 500 rupiah for every 500k rupiah transaction. But if I get the benefit from it, if I can see and if I can really feel the benefit from it, I genuinely believe it's worth it. So the problem is not about the amount of the tax, but how is the tax is going to be operationalized or actually getting processed by the government. I think that's what we need to focus on. Thank you so much. I hope that answers the question. Very interesting question, by the way. Thank you.
Okay. Next, please. Okay, Dimas, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, maybe with your ideas that poverty, that no one have to be suffer, and the system failure that makes poverty with the lack of opportunities and etc. I may want to ask about your opinion. How are we gonna contribute to our communities? Do we gonna be philanthropy that will be like a superhero that comes to someone that been suffer, or there are any other models that we could be doing, maybe as a student itself? Thank you.
Sorry, I don't think I really got the first part of the question. Could
Okay.
you repeat that first part, please? Thank you.
Okay, to contribute to our communities, I mean like for the cultural approachment, what do we need to do? Are we going to be a philanthropy, or maybe there are any other contribution that we could make? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. Um, I think I believe that there is no perfect system in this world. Every system has its own flaws. And even if we have one certain problem, sometimes the solution, it can be a mix of multiple approaches. I believe that following one model of society, sometimes it's not gonna lead to the best outcome. But what we can do now as a society, what I believe it's best is that one, the government should be held accountable. Poverty is something that should be eradicated because living wages, proper living conditions are human rights. That's what I believe in. That's what I'm sure of. And two, as a society, I believe, especially as an Indonesian myself, as a proud Indonesian, I believe that the concept of solidarity or gotong royong is a really beautiful thing. I think that should be implemented, especially in this case. And if we're talking about poverty, there's this habit of Indonesians that I think is very beautiful, where every time there's a case of something related to this, Indonesians are, by statistics, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we are the ones that are highly to donate. We're highly chance to donate. I think as a society right now, what we can do is to become empathetic, to understand conditions of people around us, to help others. That might sound cliche, but that's what I genuinely believe what we should be doing as a society right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay. Our last judges. Careful bang, careful.
Yeah.
Kebalik.
My question is that you give quite a lot of inspirative opinion and idea, giving the situations about poverty or reduction of poverty in Indonesia. But the question is, there's so many challenges faced by Indonesia as a state, as a community, as a nation, especially the government, right, in implementing these kind of situations. Even like, for example, on the health insurance, right? There was a time that some of the people who already in the hospitals, they cannot have the insurance, although they already paid, because they the institutions was stop the insurance without telling them what to do. So, I mean, can you explain what are the challenges that have to be faced by Indonesia as a nation in terms of having, a better, in terms of better economy, especially looking at the poverty situations in Indonesia, because you know that poverty in Indonesia is a different, the quantity of how many people they are in the poverty in Indonesia is quite different from institutions to another, right? From the World Bank saying that, okay, it's more than like 27% of Indonesians are in are in the category of poverty, but Indonesia, Indonesian's government saying that only like 20 millions are Indonesians who are in the poverty. So those kind of things are quite challenging also for Indonesia, and I want your critical perspective on these issues, because it's very close also to your paper, right? Please, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak. I do believe I'm aware that it can be quite confusing when, for example, the UN says that the percentage of people living in poverty in Indonesia is certain percent, and the government says this, and other institutions says this, because the baseline of poverty line from institution to institution or organization to organization can be very different, right? And it is something that is determined by that one institution, its own institution or organization. But when you're asking, okay, you can correct me if this is not your question, but you're asking what are actually the challenges in Indonesia to actually overcome this. There are multiple, I believe, and it really depends from which aspect are we talking about. But in general, I think that the main reasons are the basic are actually the basic reasonings, or the the pillars that are supposed to be strong in Indonesian. For example, one, education, healthcare, job opportunities, and also I feel like outside of that those categories, I feel like it's also about the mindset of the people. But if you're also asking, so what should be our next step? How should we actually approach this? As what I have previously explained before, the government cannot act alone. The people cannot act alone. There needs to be cooperation from both parties to make this happen, to make this work. The government is obligated to ensure the fulfillment of our rights, of our human rights. And this includes not being below of the poverty line, being able to feed themselves, to feed their children, etc., to actually have access to healthcare, access to get education, etc. But again, since the government can only provide or can only give service in the extent of, like, for example, policies, or at least raising awareness efforts. the rest is up to us, the people. Are we going to have this mentality that is supportive, that is empathetic to others, or are we going to judge people, or are we going to be discriminative to people, or are we going to judge people and put blames on them? Because if yes, then I believe no matter how strong the policy is, how great the facilities are, we're not going to move as a nation. But vice versa, if the people are already in this very solid foundation, we already have this solid foundation, and the government is not supporting us, that's also going to be a problem. And yes, if you're asking me what are the problems, there's a lot, but all of those problems are going to be solved or tackled if both parties of the government and also yeah, the governmental institutions and also the people can actually collaborate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Celine, for your speech and for your time. Please wait for the announcement, which will be announced later tonight. Maybe you want to say thank you for our judges. We please you.
Thank you so much, judges, for this opportunity. As same as Afifa, this has also been a very remarkable experience for me. I also learned a lot just from the selection only. Whatever the result is, I'm very grateful to be here and I'm very grateful to present my ideas to everyone here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Celine. Please, you can leave the Zoom. Okay, thank you. Okay, judges, we continue to our next finalist.
Lah dia bukannya orang Jakarta.
Peace, justice, and strong institutions.
Okay, Aiko. Yeah, 2 minutes for your preparation and 5 minutes for speech.
All right.
2 minutes start from now. Under 1 minute. Okay, Aiko, you have 5 minutes to deliver your idea or opinion about peace, justice, and strong institution. If you hear any rings, it means the time is up. The time is yours.
May I see the timer? Can the laptop face me? Can you restart it? Sorry. Thank you, Mbak. I will count down and yep. All right, I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to begin my speech by saying that we all born here based on a birth lottery. The reason why we are Indonesian citizens, the reason why we are here is because of some kind of like metaphysics miracle that we are all Indonesians. Therefore, I think that we should all apologize to the people, to the victims, and to the refugees that are living in war-conflicted areas. They are living in a low social economic condition, and they have no say about it, because for some reason, their leaders and all of the external factors are not in their side. I'm very proud to defend peace, justice, and strong institution. What I'm going to talk about in my speech is 3 things. Number 1, I'm going to talk about the biggest issue that are currently happening and existing in the world. And secondly, I'm going to talk about how that issue also applies in Indonesia. And lastly, how all of the innovation that I've brought in my creative innovation actually applies to the SDG goals. Firstly, let's dissect and let's talk about what is currently happening in the world. I think that we cannot try to not see our phone. We cannot just ignore the news. And all of the facts is that Palestinians, especially people who are living in Gaza right now, are currently in such a low social life condition. They don't have access to water, they don't have access to education, let alone their survivability. This condition is amplified by the creation of the Board of Peace, for example, because they did not include any Palestinian role in the making of it, even though they claim to champion the life of Palestinians. That is a fault. We believe that that is not what we stand for as an agent of change in SDG. If we want to make a solution for any vulnerable groups, we have to include them into the decision and into the discussion, because they are the one that's going to get the impacts at the end. All of the currently injustice that are happening in the world, all of the wars that are happening, all of the politically afflicted areas right now are the result of how all of the leaders only think about their political gain, only want to secure their position. But let's talk about what is currently happening in Indonesia. I think that is a shameful statement stated by one of our ministry and also the member of parliament, who stated that, for example, the 1998 incident of the mass rape was not actually happening and it's all just a made-up statement. That is something that we should regret. We should put them in accountability, and we should not just believe our leaders just because they say so. We should not believe the facts just because the officials, people who are sitting in parliament, people who have powers, people who have all of the resources say so. We believe that the fight back, the rebellion, should exist in any form. For example, in academia, we should write and we should research about all the kinds of sins that, for example, any nations have done, all of the vulnerable groups that are left behind and not included. But also, we have to keep on voicing out our voice. We cannot just take a neutral stance in a positions of injustice, because if we take that, as Nelson Mandela say, if we stay silent, that means we are siding with the perpetrator. We are siding with the one who are making the world a better place. And the world should not be a bad place for everybody, because we do not want to be birthed in any area that we want. We are here because of some metaphysics reasons and of the principle of birth lottery. Therefore, championing peace, justice, and strong institution should be the basis of all SDGs. It should be the main goal that we are all reaching for, because at the end, those people in powers are going to make legislation. They are going to dictate what is wrong, what is right, or where all of the countries are going. But I'm going to connect this with the creative innovation that I'm making, which is an application for women who experience sexual assault called SELF. This directly links to peace, justice, and strong institutions. Why? Because I'm championing a vulnerable group. I'm trying to create a space for them to feel safe, to feel seen, and to feel visible. In a world where misogyny, patriarchy, and all of the unfair conditions happening, all of the minorities deserves a safe space. They are vulnerable, they are the one that are going to get all of the bad impacts and all of the sort of harm that our leaders are going to make legislations from, or any cultures that exacerbates harmful stereotypes about them, about women, about minority, about any kind of marginalized groups. That is why, as an agent of change, as a student, as a citizen, and as a human myself, I believe that siding with the right thing, voicing out your opinion, is something that we should all stand for. Staying silent, only living in your own comfort zone is not an option, and we should all ask for more, especially to our officials. Regardless of the condition, I champion minorities, I champion justice.
Okay, thank you, Aiko.
Okay.
Bang Hardy, the first judges.
Thank you. I have very intriguing question for you. Looking at your paper and what have you been said. Okay, we know there is a problem in the world. Not only in the world, but in our community, right? Peace, justice, and strong institutions all become a problem now because of the state. Okay? So, looking at from the feminist theory perspective, right? Has been, saying by quite a lot of scholar like Spivak and Butler and so on and so forth, right? Do you think the problem that we face today is because of man's planning? Okay? What I mean by man's planning is that I'm just trying to simplify that because of everything that we see about peace, justice, and institution is always from the perspective of man. Okay? Compared to the perspective of women. So, do you think that's also also contribute to the problem that we have today? Thank you.
I understand the question. Thank you, mister. All right, to answer that, first and foremost, I'm going to say that, yes, I believe that most of the issues right now that are currently happening, mansplaining also contributes to that. Why? Because majority of those in parliaments making the decisions are men. They don't represent women or especially minority groups. That is why a lot of the times the exclusions of women and minority lead to rules or legislation that disadvantage those groups because they were not included, or they were planning to just put them aside because they don't care about them. For example, they want to prioritize economic benefits instead of ulayat people's rights, for example, right? Therefore, from a perspective of a feminist legal theory, it is stated that the advocacy for women happen because we are living in a world of misogyny and patriarchy. Therefore, as a lawmaker or as someone who studies law, we should see a law from the perspective of the people that we want to protect. Not just, is this the law that is created by the people in power, but is it the right law? So we have to continuously be more critical to what we are getting from the leaders as opposed to just accept it blindly. Thank you.
A follow-up question. So, you are a woman, all right? So, in this kind of situations that we have today, whether in domestic or internationally, from your perspective as a woman, because I want to see from your feminist theory, not only you, but you also, for your understanding of feminist theory, what do you think about the situation of peace, justice at the moment?
Thank you so much for that follow-up question. As a woman and as someone who believes in feminism by its core, I believe that the current issue and the red flags in peace and justice is that most of the time, the leader masks their decision to be a good one, even though it's a harmful one. For example, they are saying that, oh, we're going to make this. They're giving false hope, promises for them to get elected. But the moment they are in the office, the moment they got their power, suddenly all of their promises are not getting executed. That promises are only lip services done so that they can attract the hearts of the people. Even though right now they are now in the position of power, and they are, for example, they have a past sin of contributing to a human right violation, they ignore all of that voices. They don't even want to recognize or understand the perspective. People who, for example, do kamisan are deemed as rebels. They're deemed as people who are, you're misled, you're wrong, not trying to even come inviting them into the office and listening to their perspective.
Okay, next. We please Bang Togar.
Okay, thank you. Miss Aiko. In your explanation, in your presentations, you also mentioned one of the controversial statements from one of our minister, right, regarding the tragedies of 98. Yeah, we are having human rights lecturer here, Adi. Yeah. Many victims of 65, 98. Yeah, we agree that many of them still haven't received sufficient justice for what they already suffered. Yeah. However, what do you think if I say there is a clear trade-off between pursuing justice and having peaceful or stabilized public life? In your view, yeah, if we still reopen the case in 65, in 98, will it be jeopardize our national stability? In your opinion, in your view, how should we, how do you call it, navigate this dilemma between reopening the Pandora box of those cases, 65, 98, or maintaining our social order by, okay, just cut off the cycle of violence, but don't reopen something that can jeopardize our stability? What do you think?
Thank you, Mr. Togar, for that question. I think that I will answer it by asking back if, are we actually a country with peaceful citizens? Are we actually not going to have, not currently in lots of problems? Aren't we all currently now protesting against a certain program right now that is currently happening, and it's taking a lot of disadvantages from kids especially? So there is not a trade-off, because to say a trade-off, there's to be a clear differentiation. Oh, currently we are in peace condition, and if we trade that off, we are losing that. But no, I believe that we are not in a peaceful condition. We're just masking it. We're just making it seem as if there's no issue. We're shutting voices down. We are making people to be quiet. I don't want to hear you. I'm putting my hand on my ears. But that just means that all of the leaders, all of the people in power probably are just ignorant. They don't want to make a mess because it's going to affect their political likability. But I think that it is a trade-off that deserves to be pushed, because these are minorities we're talking about. These are women who are not believed even by the people in power. So regardless of whatever the situation in our country, we're never going to get peace if the people making the peace in question are people who never experienced what the victims felt. Thank you. All right, thank you everyone.
Okay, next we please Miss Anai to ask question.
Thank you so much. Thank you also, Iko, for the delivering the presentation. Okay, I saw your paper, your creative design about the self itself. Considering your work also on that empowerment through the self initiative, I just want to know from you that I do believe myself, I also believe that we as a woman also have the same amounts of the rights to access for everything, and also to do whatever we want, and also believing that we should be the peoples that can cure the injustice and also can get the justice for everything. But I want to know more deeply from you that how do you think the young people, especially the young woman, can play the role into the strengthening the culture of justice and accountability, both start from Indonesia, but we do hope that this could be also raised globally. So how do you think that the power of the young woman could play the role in strengthening the culture of justice and also the accountability globally and the for the Indonesia itself? That's the first. The second is linking the self program that's your initiative in your green creative. um, I think it's also uh, required the what's the SGD 16 highlights that the need for strong institutions to ensure the justice and the equality, especially for the woman. But we do know that in UI itself has the Hope Helps, right? So I think my questions for the self itself adalah how could self works? Is it like Hope Helps itself, or probably what's the initiative contribute that self brings to the woman itself? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Anai, for that question. I'm going to answer that question with the last one first. So what does self actually do and how it differentiate and have novelty over Hope Helps? I'm going to explain the clear difference. Self plays in the digital landscape of just an application in your phone. Meanwhile, Hope Helps is a services given by UI for victims of sexual assault. You can also do online consultation, for example, but most of them are in a form of offline consultation. What Self is currently doing is that we are trying to make it easy for victims of sexual assault, especially women, to have access to people who want to listen to them. Because in my abstract, I also say that the problem besides the number of sexual assault is also people want to volunteers, but they don't have the resources. They don't have the time to actually go out besides their work and their demand to go to college, for example. That is why Self simplifies the idea of volunteering by making it that you can actually do volunteers at the comfort of your own home, at your office, or any location just through your phone. I also explain how that the roles differentiate, how the system of the self application works to keep people engaged. So Hope Helps is an amazing initiative. I'm not saying anything about it, but we're trying to make it also simple and easy for people who do not have the privilege of time. All right, I'm going to answer the first question in regards to what are the roles of young girls, what are the roles of women that I think should have been done. I think I'm going to answer this for both international and locally. I think that as a woman, we should not be afraid to show emotion. There are stereotypes that women are dramatic, women always prioritize their emotion. Let them think about that. Let us prioritize emotion because we care about people. They use their brains, but they don't use their heart. What is it for? They're not defending minorities. We care about them. We see any sort of issue through the lens of someone who have been done wrong. That is why what I think that we should do, number one, we should show up more. Do competitions, write your own paper. Don't be afraid to show up in organization. Make yourself more visible in any format, regardless if you're a student, if you're a lecturer. Put all of the issues out so that people can hear you and take you seriously. I think that's the roles that should have been done and amplified by women. Thank you.
Okay, Miss Anai, any response?
Thank you much for the answer.
There are problems of signal. We can hear you, Miss Anai.
That's enough for me, Miss
Okay.
Dania.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Yes, it's time for iftar in here.
Oke. Happy
Selamat buka,
breakfasting.
Nay.
Oke. Lastly, we please Dimas.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, because you were talking about institution problems also, and your paper talking about sexual violence and itself, I may want to ask about, is there any institutional problem regarding to the protection and the empowerment from sexual violence, maybe in our nation, especially that we have already having Undang-Undang TPKS itself? Thank you.
Yes, there is. Thank you so much, first and foremost, for that question. Yes, there is a clear problem that is currently happening. The problem is that BPJS, which is the social resources for people, do not cover visum or any sort of helps to the sexual assault victims. They do not cover it anymore. Therefore, people who have experienced that or any of the victims have to go through their own way. They have to use their own money to invest in psychologists and any kind of sorts. Therefore, even if there is already the TPKS legislation, the execution of it is still questionable. Just because you put out a law does not grant the people the actual benefit of that law.
Okay, maybe for my second question, I want to ask about your digital application that could protect and empower the sexual violence itself. What do you think about the application that could be used in our nation? How the application gonna do?
All right, thank you so much for that follow-up. What I'm going to do is to connect the problem that I've explained earlier, which is that all of these social resources for BPJS do not cover for sexual assault victims anymore. Therefore, the victims of sexual violence are generally in a very much vulnerable position. They don't have resources, and to even put out their own money to go book a psychology session is probably a chore. It's a job for them. They have to explain everything from the beginning. Therefore, what Self is currently doing is that we are simplifying the role of people who want to help and also women who want to access some sort of like consultation. They want to access companion in times where they feel like they're alone, they're having thoughts that are just harmful. So even if the country does not protect that anymore, I'm trying to show that as a citizens, as a people, we cannot just accept that. We make our own innovations. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's enough for me.
Oke, terima kasih. Thank you. Thank you for your time, Aiko. You can wait for the announcement which will be announced later tonight.
All right, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Aiko. We continue to our next finalist. Easy.
Amize. Ya bagus. Bagusnya dua belakang bagus ini. Hah? Iya, Aiko sama Selin tadi bagus menurutku.
7.
Berisik lo, Nay. Mentang-mentang udah minum lo, Nay.
Belum, 3 menit lagi.
How do we call you? Easy? Easy. Easy. Yeah. Easy like Sunday morning.
Easy like Sunday morning.
No poverty.
Easy, you have 2 minutes to think about your idea or any opinion about no poverty.
Oh, ini mah togar ini.
2 minutes start from now.
Socio-ecological model dia pakainya. Bisa juga bukan easy nih bacanya. Easy E.
Rapper.
Iya. Compton. Apa namanya? Itunya? Grupnya? NWA.
1 minute left. Easy, please wait. Easy, you have 5 minutes to deliver your speech. The times is yours.
Imagine you're living in a world where there is a goal that the world has to follow. But when you see that the goal is not ideal, that the goal is it's not meant for good, should we still follow that goal? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, and greeting for all. My name is Izzy Medivika Belanjiwa, and today the topic that I got is about no poverty. Poverty is, of course, a bad thing that sadly still happens in all parts of the world, Indonesia included. But on the topic of SDGs, I want to talk about why I think that SDGs, the specific SDGs target that we have is not ideal to follow as basis for national regulation. The two most important thing I want to highlight is the minimum number, the eradication of people that have wages $1 and $1.50 every day, and the elimination of 50% of poverty according to its national rule. I want to argue about this definition and this target that the SDGs have. First, the $1.50 rule. Where do we get the number? When I look around, $1.50 is the target that the World Bank set in the year of 900, in the 90s. I think it's in the 90s. Right now, when I look around, the standard has rose into $4. I think we can see the issues here that yes, if the SDGs are correct, then if we eradicate those who have $1.50, okay, that's good. We have fulfilled our goals in the SDGs. But have we made a real impact? When, for example, the inflation has inflated the number of dollars, $1.50 in the 90s doesn't hit the same. It doesn't have the real, same monetational value as it is today. And second, other than the dollar issue, I want to talk about the issue about eliminating 50% of the poverty according to its national definition. I think it's the second target in the SDGs of no poverty. But I'm having a bit of an issue with the focus on the national definition of poverty, because poverty line is just a line. You can set it to something else, but at the end, it's just a line that the government can arbitrarily decide where it is. I remember reading a story about, I don't know what, 1 or 2 years ago, President Prabowo said that, okay, we have reduced this number of people in poverty in Indonesia. Okay, I thought to myself, hey, that's great. I look around. Wait, so the people, why do the poverty number in Indonesia rose down? when I look around, it's not because Indonesia has implement a good economical policy. Indonesia has raised its minimum budget. No, it's because the line has been lowered by our statistic, so that the number it has gone down. I didn't say that they took it down, the number down, because they want to improve the number of people not in poverty. But what I'm saying is, when we set the target, this SDGs target, we have to think critically about what this target actually means. Does 50% in all poverty is good? Yes, it's good. But we have to make sure that the standard when we chose the goals is also believable, and it also reflect real values in our day-to-day life. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Santi Om, and greeting for all. Thank you.
Okay. We please Bang Togar to be the first our judges. Please.
Okay, easy. Most of your speech, you criticize the poverty line number, right? You reviewed the idea of Indonesia having World Bank target of getting the citizen to have 1.5 US dollar per day. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So as I believe we agree that many Indonesia live just barely that poverty line. Yeah. Maybe one medical emergency or being a victim of natural disaster can lead many of Indonesian to become extremely poor. Yeah. So I just want to hear your proposal, yeah, rather than criticize the poverty line number, yeah. What is your proposal, yeah, or your safety net, yeah, in order to avoid those people that live barely the poverty line not to go down below that line, yeah, rather than criticize the line, the poverty line. What is your idea for people that actually live barely that line and not easily going down below that line? What's your take? Thanks, yours.
Thank you so much, Bang, for the question. For me, one of the most important thing to have is a good fiscal budget, a good implementation of the budget. Poverty is one of the things that the nation Indonesia has to solve. So in solving those things, Indonesia has the budget from tax, from BUMN and other stuff to make sure that the poverty doesn't go down for the people that are living barely above or even below the poverty line. So for me, one of the most important thing is to make sure that our nation fiscal budget is used efficiently. As we know, a lot of our nation budget, for me, has not been used effectively for a lot of the program that is now being used. So I think if we relocate those budgets into other sectors that will benefit the poor better, I think it will be better. I think it will be good for to increase the number of people not in poverty.
Still not clear. In only one sentence, just put it as simple as you can. Yeah. So you say that in order to do that, we need to focus on our fiscal policy, I think. Yeah. Then you also mentioned about reallocation of budget. So just put it simple. Just put it simply. From what program that we need to reallocate, yeah, to other program?
For me, the best cases is from the makan bergizi gratis to I think every program, but especially maybe BPJS.
Okay, you read my mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bang.
Okay, that's all from me.
Please.
Okay, thank you very much. Is it about because you were presenting about the economically itself, the poverty itself, and your paper was talking about the sexual violence. I want to ask: is there any relation about the poverty itself and the sexual violence? And maybe if there was any relation, how could your suggestion in your paper could develop a protection, or maybe to empower the protection of the sexual violence itself?
Thank you so much for the question. Violence, especially sexual violence, is very much tied to poverty because poverty is a structural thing. So when you are impoverished, you cannot receive education. You cannot receive. You cannot receive better. You cannot get education. You cannot get food. You cannot get a lot of things, access to justice and such. So. Remembering the paper that I wrote, especially in the in pesantren, a lot of them are in the area where they are in poverty. So I think it's very much tied. A lot of the things that I've seen, especially in the context of my paper, the sexual education, they cannot get proper sexual education because they doesn't have the money for it, or because they are in an area where it's a where in area with where they are in area where there's poverty, their education is not good. So because their education is not good, they doesn't think that sexual violence is a crime or other such thing. So yeah, it's definitely an issue, and there's definitely a huge link to it. Sorry, what's the second question?
How could your idea to of protection? How could your idea in the terms of the protection of sexual violence could answer the problems with the sexual violence that occur of the poverty itself?
Okay, my idea. In my line of thinking, if we solve the issue of poverty, one of the issues that we can also solve the issue of sexual violence. So I cannot say that my idea in eradicating the sexual violence in pesantren can solve the issue of poverty. Maybe there is a line to it, but I cannot think of one right now. But what I can say is, if we help people in those impoverished area, the sexual violence rates will also go down. One of the easiest thing for me, the easiest example is my program requires money. If the people are impoverished, they doesn't have money for the program, they cannot implement the program, and they cannot receive the sexual education that they need. So I think we can see it from the other perspective, where if we solve poverty, we can also solve sexual violence. Thank you, Dimas.
Okay, thank you. That's it all for me.
Baik, oke. Next, we please Miss Anai, Mbak Anai. Are you with us?
Thank you, Miss Dania.
Uh,
Oke. Easy ya tadi.
Easy, Mbak.
Easy.
Yes.
Okay. So I think yeah, it's gonna be just like your name, easy. Okay. From me, I need to answer at least that I will be giving you. And the first one, okay. This is just like a regular, I think, from the SGDs number one, snow poverty questions. Yeah. I think we do have understand that there is a lot, many poverty alleviation programs that have been implemented in Indonesia, especially that is also ranging from the social assistance to the community empowerment programs. But rather we knows also that it is it is also have a biggest challenge that in ensuring these programs truly empower people to escape the poverty itself rather than creating the long-term dependency to that programs that is implemented in Indonesia. My question first, in your view, in your like point of view of these issues, what is the current issue that we have to deal with regarding these things that it to free ourselves, to free these problems from the dependency. Yeah, because we want the empowerment things, not the dependency for the program itself only. That's the first I want you to answer first, and then I will continue with my seconds.
Thank you so much for the question, Mbak. For me, the same issue is the question is has the same issue as the question from Bang Togar, which I answer. Okay, how do we fix this? For me, the issue how do we fix this is to empower those in the poverty line to make sure that they can take themselves up. They does not depend on governmental program or bantuan sosial. And for me, the solution is reallocation of budget, especially from the makan bergizi gratis to other, especially education, because if you ask, okay, what's our right now our biggest government spending, one of our biggest governmental spending is makan siang bergizi, and that program is focused on bansos, it's bantuan sosial. So it's just quote unquote, it's just a gift. They cannot, it doesn't help themselves. They cannot use the program to empower themselves. When we can see, but we can see that if we reallocate the fund from that program to other program, especially education, they can enable themselves to get better education and of course help themselves to get above the poverty line. Thank you, Mbak. You are still muted, Mbak, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you for the answers. So, just like a thread of perspective aja ya for these following questions. So in the situations where the property we agree that is urgent and also like immediately assist needed, how do you think about how can the policymakers balance the short-term social protection with a long-term empowerment for the programs itself to free ourselves from this poverty, especially?
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. I think the the most important thing is balance between those short-term bansos and the long-term development goals. How do we balance it out? Well, we need to make sure, okay, we need to have a good investigation about the issue. Okay, in what area, in X area, okay, they have ABC issue. How do we fix the ABC issues? Okay, we need to give this program that makes sure in what year they will have a good industry, good X industry, good textile industry, whatever. But in the meantime, when we are building that goal, where we are building that sustainable goal, we need to give out those short hands out to make sure they're still living and they can still pursue the goals that the government has in mind. So for me, bansos and other short-term help is not bad, but it has to be balanced with those long-term development goals. Thank you, Mbak.
Thank you, Izzy, for the answers. I'll give it back to Ms. Dania. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Anai. The lastly, Bang Hadi.
Yes. My question is that when we look at poverty in Indonesia, it's kind of like very multidimensional, right? Not only because, some people doesn't have any access, but it's more than that. From my perspective, it's more structural. But I want you to look at little bit, further or higher than what has become an issue. And I want your opinion on that. Looking at Indonesia as a country, as a state, we have quite a lot of resources, right? So when we're asking about Indonesia, it's not asking what Indonesia have, but what Indonesia don't have, which is good leadership. But by looking at those, resources that we have and the poverty that also what we have with this multidimensional problem, I want you to, give me one analysis on your observations on these very delicate issues of property in Indonesia.
So to confirm, one analysis of one problem in Indonesia.
Your analysis on those, scenario, the situations of Indonesia.
I think Indonesia
So what is the problem? What I want from
Okay,
you
okay.
is critical perspective on these issues. So we have those resources, right? But corruption also very high. See, right? And the poverty is also very high at the same level. So, what do you think about that?
For me, the biggest issue is education. The education, because education is what built a human being. Indonesian leaders, for me,
Okay, what kind of education?
moral education, especially moral education. Because
But you can eat because of the moral, right?
I agree. But when you ask me about structural issue, I think, especially when you ask about good leadership, I think good nation, we can see how good of a nation is based on their leader, especially because we are a democracy. So when we educate people, when we educate people on the morals and what's not, they become influenced on what leaders they chose. So if you ask about Indonesia leadership, then maybe one of the key issue is those education.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, our judges. Thank you, Izzy. You can wait until announcement, which will be announced later tonight. Thank you. Maybe you want to say thank you to our judges?
Thank you so much, judges from all type of interview. Thank you so much. This is an amazing experience I had.
Okay, thank you, Izzy. You can leave the room. The last finalist of our mahasiswa berprestasi is Joya. Joya with J. Joya Josephine.
Joya Josephine.
Istrinya Napoleon ya. Apa? Oh, sorry.
Protestant.
Oh, Protestan. Oh. Okay. My mother too.
Because our HPI doesn't allow it.
Yeah.
Doesn't allow. Mixed marriage.
My mother was Protestant.
You can read it aloud.
Doesn't work
Bang
and
Toto,
economic growth.
Mother Elsa.
Doesn't work and economic growth.
Decent work and economic. Decent work.
Economic growth.
Okay, Joya, you have 2 minutes to prepare. While waiting the azan maghrib.
Joya.
Pas selesainya pas azan maghrib.
Josephine. Mapres gak gua? Oh iya, kan? Nggak menarik memang jadi dosen. Oh iya,
Konklusinya tuh di akhir.
Rata-rata mau jadi lawyer bang kemarin.
Tapi di sini ada Putri FH. Ya.
Semuanya putih. Joya under 1 minute.
Siapa? Siapa?
Titi Anggraini.
Emang dia dosen?
PKWT.
Emang dia dosen? Kan pertanyaan gua begitu.
Iya, gua kira itu dia dulu.
Kalau
Iya.
gua percaya kalau lu dosen, kalau Titi gua masih belum percaya dia dosen.
Deliver your idea in speech. The time is yours.
All right. I want to open these discussions with questions. Who has this responsibility to make sure everyone has a decent work and this country have this economic growth? With all my stance, and also I say it loudly, it is the responsibility to the government. Why? Because the government has the our rights, has the power to intervene, to regulate, and to monitoring itself. So this is what I say. These goals will tell us about how to promote about the equality to access about the work. So I will start this speech with 4 stages. First one is what aims we want to achieve. The second one is what are the targets. The third one is what we are stand it for now. And the last one is it's very relatable to my creative proposal. So the first one is we know that in our employment law there is inequality between the company and the workers. So it must be there, the government must to intervene in our relations between the employer and the company. For example, we know that in Indonesia, in our regulation about employment has 2 kinds of the agreement about the workers. The first one is contractual with the limit of time and with no limit of time. And this is what the government says about the state about the mandatory for the company to give them rights by making like social guarantees, health guarantees for them. So one of the things that must be achieved at these goals is first, like we know that Indonesia is already wants to achieve the economic growth. That you can look at our president proposal, Asta Cita. It mentioned that we need to diversification of products, right? And diversification of products, one of the things that I want to give an example is make our natural resources as in downstreams, ups to downstreams products. That is mean we should to protect our critical natural resources too. Why? Because natural resources also have a correlation to the society wealth. If we only focus on our economic growth, like we mentioned it as we have a higher GDP, but GDP is not really represent of our wealth of the countries. For example, maybe we have achieved 8% of GDP growth, but is not talking about distribution, how it distribute to another society, how the each of capital have to gain their salary is not never mentioned in GDP. So my criticize for the sustainable development is because we only focus on GDP. One of the target mentioned that the global country must to achieve 7%, even though Indonesia has more than this because we achieve 8%, but it doesn't mean that all of the society has to achieve their right of economic, like they have the wealth. And we all know that a lot of problems happens in our capital markets also. Like we all know that last day we have of decreased value of the capital market, and it's so volatile. So this is how the sustainable policy needs here. So because I'm the last speaker here, I want to say about something about like sustainable development. We all know that the target will end in 2030, right? And it's 5 years later, which means it is short time for us to ensure all of the targets have been achieved. But my question again, have all of the targets has implemented in our regulations? I don't think so. So I don't want the sustainable development goals is just be an eternal law and we can do by a longer deadlines. So thank you so much.
Oke, siap.
Okay.
Yes, Bang Togar.
Okay, thank you. Miss Joya. I still don't get how do you define what is decent work and how it's related to enhancing the economic growth. Okay, please.
All right, about the decent work. Especially it's because a concept that I need to make it clear. The first thing is when we say it's decent work, it's mean like in the relation of the employment and the companies, they have social guarantees. They have a social care, and it has been inclusive for all of the workers, such as disabilities. It can be entered for the formal industry.
Okay, so it's actually related to your paper, yeah, regarding.
Yes, I'm sorry because I haven't mentioned it because the time is up.
Okay.
Can I describe about my paper about to relate it this?
Okay, please.
All right. My paper is talk about the right of the disabilities to enter for the formal work. For example, like along the way, we are still give them vocational skill about the entrepreneur, about the handicraft, and they didn't give an access to get into formal work. For example, like being a design graphist or
Okay.
digital, something like that. And I suggest it by proposal with make an make a commitment with the committed company with the ESGR, environmental social governance,
Okay.
which means in there we are make a talent pooling for the company, make a vocational training for them of what the kind of skill that the company needs, and they can recruit the disability worker in there. So they compliance to fulfill the mandatory quota of the Article 53 in the regulations, and they can beyond of compliance to what is it? Beyond compliance to report it as a sustainable, inclusive work environment.
Business-wise,
Yes.
why would why would I, as a business owner, spend so much money and time to train disabled person while I just can hire the people that skilled enough to fulfill my task? If you say that if I have incentive to fulfill the ESG report on doing that, what if I say, okay, just hire some disabled, but make them non-jobs. And after that, I also hire skilled workers. What do you think?
All right. The first thing, the motive of the company hire the disability workers is the first one, they will get incentive rights. Because if they just recruit it to fulfill the compliance, it never be accumulated as the performance of the ESG, because ESG must be verified by the independent verificator. So if just a formality, they will not achieve the performance of ESG, and if the ESG is disclosed to the capital market, they will get a bad value. So it's also making an ESG is a big decision. Why? Because it can be give the company two impacts. First, maybe they can achieve loans or the new investor who interest with that issues. But also, if the perform is bad, it can give a bad impact for them because they will lost about the value of the shares. Thank you, Mr. Togar.
Bang Hadi, next. Okay.
We talk about this ESG business and work, right? And the workforce. And then you also mentioned on your presentations, because you got this decent work and economic growth. I'm very triggered with the questions done by Pak Togar here, is that the reason why we should hire these how do you say it, disables, but there is other term. It's not disabled, but
Defable.
defable, right? Okay, workers. Why we should hire them, except for those moral and some kind of like indigenous reason, right? So, but the problem is the market doesn't care about that. So how, from the business perspective, how should, the business balance these issues?
All right. The first one, why the company should to hire them. I have read some of the articles and I make it as a quote or a reference in my paper. It shows that disability workers or disabled workers is more loyal to their work. It's maybe something like assumptive, but it's proven by that research. I will tell you after that maybe, because like they have some of the barrier to do a lot of things, like maybe he has an impairment to the physical impairment, like so they respect their job. So by they respect their job, it's mean like they're more loyal to the company that hired them. It's very psychological reason maybe. But the second one, the markets didn't care about why they should hire the disabled or disability, because I suggest the proposal with the ESG programs. ESG is a voluntary scheme. So I think the committed company is the one that care about it. They may not didn't care about it because they know the motive. ESG is one that promise about the future sustainable business. Like once I have read the Otoritas Jasa Keuangan regulations, which give a mandatory for them to make a plan sustainable financial or it's named as Aksi Keuangan Berkelanjutan. It's mandatory. So every conventional bank must require every company to get loans by attach that proposal, by attach the ESG programs. So I think the business have been transitions to more sustainable, and there's a lot of company who has already committed to it. We all can look at it by Indonesian exchange stock. There are a lot more than 10 companies already report their ESG.
Okay, just want to give some kind of opinion on your uh, argumentation. Is that why they are so loyal? The question, the question is why they are so loyal is because only few businesses that hire them. If it's open, every business is open to the disabled people, I think they won't be any loyal anymore to the business. That's one of the reasons. And then the other reason is also, I mean, by looking at what you are saying about ESG and then the market and everything, it's something that you are created. It's not very natural actually to look at this. To have this kind of market to open up to this situation. Even work, job market, or even like the economy. But the question is whether or not it will become, as mentioned by Pak Togar earlier, is it going to be like become a burden for the business itself? Hire these people, hire the favorable people.
All right. Maybe I want to disclaimer because it's my creative proposal. Maybe in reality, it's not really ideal as I propose. But how can the disabled people, disabled workers are able to doing their jobs? Because before that, there are vocational training that I have to mention. Companies should make a talent pooling. It's mean like they will in incubation. I forget about the name, but it's called as vocational. Like it's the vocational as they required to enter the recruitment process. So now there are some problems like unmatched supply and demand because there's a lack of company that training about the disability people before they recruit it. So it is the reason why the company always place them in unessential work or positions. For example, the company reported that they have fulfilled all the compliance by hire the disability workers, but they just be a like cafeteria. I mean, office boy or something that didn't really get impact to the company. It just be compliance. But if we are talk about the ESG, we are talking about more compliance, beyond compliance. So there are some of requirements from the ESG report that makes the company get more create an inclusive environment of employment. That's all. I'm sorry if I too long.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hadi.
Okay, thank you, Joya. We please next to Miss Anai to give Joya question or any response, please.
Okay, hi Joya.
Hi,
Yet
Mbak
again.
Anai.
Yeah. Okay. Just a few questions. Yeah, I think it's just one questions only. I I have a time to look at your proposal, yeah, your creative proposal that I saw on your chapter 3. You emphasize the digital jobs and you clearly said that as a game changer, right? And for the person with the disabilities to access the formal labor market through the ESG's based corporate polling. And also that's on your 3.1 and also on your 3.2, if I'm not mistaken, you also design your program using the triple MWT, yeah, macro, meso, micro workforce taxonomy and things, and also evaluate it using the SMART, yeah, the singkatannya it's SMART, yeah, indicators to ensure that it is measurable outcomes. Mike, I'm preparing these questions for you, like just beyond the design of the framework itself. What do you think? What the mechanism that would ensure that this accountability and long-term commitment from the corporation itself and also the policymakers, so this initiative truly contribute well to achieving this SDGs 8 principle of no leaving people behind. That's all my
Right.
questions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Anai. The first thing I want to answer is how to verify it that is all report. We all know that report is something that we have done and we created a report and disclosed it to a verificator. Sadly, in Indonesia, has a lack of regulation to check or make sure all the report is qualified or the report is correct report because there's no regulation at all. I have assumptions why the government still don't have any regulations about the standards of the verifications standards is because the government thinks it is a voluntary scheme. While the voluntary scheme is it will be more than business to business. So lack of government intervention is the essential meaning of the voluntary scheme. And but we all know that ESG has been so much developed in a global context, while there's a lot of ISO standard for the standard to verify the environmental, social, and governance report. I have attached my suggestion standards. If I don't forget about standards that I suggest is ISO 600. But I forget about the details because it has a lot of number. But it is the common standard that using in the international or global ESG verifications. And also we use independent verificator. So it's not using the government or institutions to verify like a lot of the political will or maybe some of the corruptions, but having a partnership or hire independent verificator will give the result of the report more verify. I think it is the correct report to verify.
Okay, Joya, thank you so much for your insight. I think it's quite good that your proposal demonstrate how the innovative frameworks you want to bring to contribute to building a more inclusive labor market and also for the people with the disabilities. Thank you so much, Joya. Thank you, Mbak Dania.
Thank you so much, Mbak Handayani.
Thank you, Mbak Anai. Okay, we continue to our next judges. Please, Dimas.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, it's going to be Okay. So regarding to your ideas of talent pooling, I may want to ask what kind of affirmative action that our government could give or could have been given to the workers with disabilities so that our talent pooling could be more disability friendly.
All right. Um, I never mentioned that my creative proposal as an affirmative actions because there is, so I think it's not really good to mention it as affirmative for them. It's mean that they're unempowered, like they're less of power. So I mention it as business social base because the company is not only just giving them money, not giving them only a vocational training, but also they get a profit in the future. Nowadays, sustainable business is a very promised business for the future. So I think by the company having access to get loans for the conventional bank, it means that it's not affirmative. It's a business. It's still a business. And I know that from today until 100 years later, the company will have some of motives. They will still have motives to gain a profit, the motive of business. So that's all my answers.
Enough? Okay, they are done. Thank you, Joya, for presenting your idea. Thank you, our judges, Mbak Anai, Dimas, Bang Hadi, juga Bang Togar. Joya, you can leave this room and waiting to for announcement later tonight. Terima kasih, Abang Mbak. Terima kasih, Mbak Anai. Silakan bisa istirahat. Bapak Ibu kita.
Thank
Oh
you
ya,
so
jangan
much.
lupa langsung mengirim nilainya, Mbak Anai.
Thank you so much for all the judges. May you have a great iftar.
Thank you, Joya. Silakan. Baik, Bapak Ibu, kita akan break untuk buka puasa bersama. Oh iya.
Selamat berbuka puasa.
Terima kasih kepada Bapak dan Ibu.
Bang Hadi nggak mokel kan, Bang Hadi? Bang Hadi nggak bokel kan?
Jangan gitu, Nay. Gue nih biasa puasa